Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mr. Secretary General, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, respected ambassadors, Madam Ambassador, representative of our friend and host country, China, most welcome to this very interesting event today of my interaction with the diplomatic club of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, plus the observer states in it. When I learned of your proposal to have this meeting conducted in Kabul, I immediately, with pleasure, say this is an important event, and that Afghanistan, as a member of this region and as an observer of this important organization, needs and has a lot to share with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, also to learn from. Because not only that we are in the same geographical region, but also because the opportunities and the threats that we face are absolutely the same in nature and in scope. Gentlemen, ladies, you're all aware of the events in Afghanistan for the past 30 years, with the invasion of the former Soviet Union, to the arrival of the Taliban, to the arrival of the United States and NATO in the name of the war on terror, and to the subsequent events till today. No doubt there has been suffering in Afghanistan. No doubt there has been in the past 10 years significant progress in Afghanistan, together with suffering for the Afghan people, of course. We believe that the threat of terrorism and violence that now is affecting Afghanistan and Pakistan in particular, more than all other countries, is a threat not only to the two countries of Afghanistan and Pakistan, but also to the whole region. We see the violent echoes of this all the way up to Kenya and Nairobi. We saw the tragic event of the killing of 80 worshippers in a church in Peshawar the other day. We also see on a daily basis our army, our police, our security personnel, and our civilians suffering in Afghanistan. Therefore, this is a threat to all of us, as is seen in Russia, as is seen at times in China and in India, indeed. Afghanistan, therefore, is not only a country linked to you by culture and tradition and commerce, but Afghanistan is, in terms of threats and the commonality of threats to our society, by all means also connected to the region, as we all suffer. Now, the main question here is, how do we free our societies from this menace of extremism and terrorism? And how do we collaborate together towards a better economic future and more prosperous societies? The two main countries by the linkages of threats and opportunities are Pakistan and Afghanistan. Afghanistan has tried its very best in the past 12 years to engage in a very extensive manner with Pakistan. I just recently had a very good visit to Pakistan and a constructive meeting with Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. in which we made an agreement that certain Taliban leaders will be released from Pakistani prisons, and I'm glad to report that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has fulfilled his promise and has released Mullah Biradar. But that is just a drop in the ocean. We expect from Afghanistan that our brothers in Pakistan will cooperate with us extensively and with dedication so we can free ourselves from extremism and terrorism. Our cooperation with other neighbors, with Iran, with India, with China, with Turkmenistan, with Uzbekistan, with Tajikistan, and by extension with Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan and China are very, very good. So is also our relationship with Russia, strong and expanding. China, a neighbor of ours, has been a significant contributor to Afghanistan's development and stability. In our view, our success in the war on terror will not come by individual countries in this region trying to create a belt of isolation around themselves. No. Or a collectivity of countries in this region trying to create a belt of isolation around themselves. No. I saw statements coming from the CIS, Commonwealth of the Central Asian countries, in Sochi, in which the leaders thought about creating a security belt around CIS to protect themselves. That, in our view, is not the solution. The solution is to engage for finding a way out of the current mess that we are in, all of us, and by engaging with Afghanistan and Pakistan in particular in fight against terrorism, and by removing the sanctuaries, the training grounds, the facilitation to extremist groups, and the financial sources to the extremist groups, wherever they may be. So my important suggestion today, my important proposal today to this meeting is that rather than trying to evolve a protectionist attitude of creating belts of security around some countries, no, we should try to broaden our scope of engagement with all the countries in the region, bilaterally and multilaterally, to seek solutions. No doubt, we have three of the most important countries in the world among us. It's China, it's India, it's Russia, with immense potentials, with immense capabilities, with immense means, with abilities, if we work together, to find answers to the problems that we have in this region. Speaking of these three countries, Afghanistan has remarkably good, friendly, and close relations with India, who has helped us significantly in the past 12 years with over $2 billion of assistance. Afghanistan has a very deep, very strong relationship with China. This is my fifth or sixth visit to China, and the relationship is deepening. China has been the first investor in Afghanistan in our minerals and our gas and petroleum. The relation with China is with Russia is growing very, very strong and deep politically and commercially as well. So is our relation with other countries. With Iran, exactly the same way. Therefore, my proposal here, and I would like to engage in this as well, is for us to cooperate and collaborate towards a peaceful region, a region free from extremism and terrorism. And that's the only way forward, and I think we can do it. I don't think we need the rest of the international community to address our problems if we do it ourselves. It's lack of action on our part that has drawn other members of the international community to our countries, particularly to Afghanistan. So if we concentrate among ourselves in a cooperative manner and put in resources for this purpose, we will be out of our troubles. Of course, we need to have political will as well in all of us, individually and collectively. About Afghanistan itself, NATO is on its way out of Afghanistan. Next year, a great majority of NATO's forces and ISAF forces and US forces will leave Afghanistan, and this is what Afghanistan has been seeking, and we think this is good for Afghanistan. We are in negotiations with the United States and NATO on security agreements. Afghanistan has a point of view on the formats of those agreements that we have presented both to NATO and to the United States. We are still in negotiations. As and when those demands of Afghanistan concerning Afghan sovereignty and Afghan interest and the protection of the Afghan people and a genuine fight against terrorism are agreed upon, the Afghan people will be willing to engage into security agreement with the US and NATO. But that security agreement must be for the good of the region, not for the detriment of the region. That security agreement must have the support of the region, not in opposition to the region. That security agreement must provide a better environment to the region of trust and cooperation between Afghanistan and its partners. Therefore, Afghanistan is aware of its presence in this region and as a member of this region. And Afghanistan will be engaging with the rest of the world based on its needs and necessities. Afghanistan will be going to election as well in 2014. This will be our third presidential election, and we're trying our best to make it smooth and peaceful. And I hope our neighbors, in particular in this room, and the near neighbors of Afghanistan will also cooperate with Afghanistan to conduct a fair and peaceful election, so our constitution can be implemented, so our people can have their right to practice their constitution and practice their democracy. Well, I guess the most important question on the minds of all of us is the future of Afghanistan, especially after 2014, and the impact of the US presence in Afghanistan after 2014 if we reach an agreement, and that of NATO, because it has an impact on not only Afghanistan, its neighbors, but also the broader region and our near neighbors. Two things are very clear. One, that the past 10 years and the US war and European or NATO war on terrorism with the tacit and explicit approval at times of our neighbors and countries in the region has driven the Taliban out of power from Afghanistan and has reduced the effectiveness of Al-Qaeda and terrorist groups. And the second impact, positive impact, has been the progress achieved in Afghanistan in economy, in education, in health, and in all other aspects of life. But the past 10 years and the military exercise in Afghanistan and the drone attacks in Pakistan have not decreased radicalism and terrorism. Rather, radicalism has been on the rise. And this is a question that we have repeatedly raised with European leaders and also with US leaders. This is something that we have to have in mind and find answers for. Perhaps around this meeting today we can have some speakers address this issue. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, our objectives are clear. One, we want a clear, result-oriented war against extremism and terrorism, and we want that our neighbors and near neighbors support this in the interest of all of us. We want also that our neighbors and the region at large take this up with the Western powers as a vital interest for all of us, that this war must be result-oriented and must end in peace and stability in the region, and at least with a decline in extremism. Especially our youth should be saved from the extremist tendencies that we have seen rising in the past few years. The second issue of trade and culture and cooperation, Afghanistan has never in the past century and in the 21st century has never engaged as broadly as it has in the past 12 years with our neighbors and beyond. Our trade with Pakistan has risen from $25 million of 2001 to over $1 billion today. Our trade with Iran has surpassed $1 billion as well. Our trade with China, our trade with India, our trade with Russia, our trade with Tajikistan, with Uzbekistan, with Turkmenistan. So that area has seen immense expansion. Culturally, politically, and diplomatic engagement has been the strongest ever for Afghanistan. That is a matter of satisfaction. What we should all be concerned about, what I'm concerned about, what the Afghan people and surely your own societies are concerned about individually, is the issue of extremism and terrorism and the increasing radicalization of our youth. This is a question that we should be focused on and find answers for. And I believe transnational crime and drugs also will find an answer once we have addressed the issue of extremism and terrorism. Turkey is a dialogue partner for the Shanghai Cooperation Council, but Turkey is a first-ranking friend with Afghanistan and a brother with Afghanistan for centuries now, literally. And the recorded history of friendship between Afghanistan and Turkey goes back at least 250 years ago. And the second strongest record of this friendship goes to the early part of the 20th century. The story of friendship between the late leader of Turkey, Kemal Atatürk, and Amanullah Khan are known all over the world. And Turkey has been outside of this Shanghai region, the top contributor to Afghanistan's security and support in the larger region. So I don't know, many of us present around this meeting may not know the depth and strength of the Afghan-Turkey relationship. And I thank you for your remark. And also your remark brings me, when speaking of extremism and terrorism and the threats to us, to another very important issue relevant to all the countries present here today. That is the promotion of ethnic and sectarian divisions in our region, one that we should be extremely aware of, and one that we should be united in fighting against. Therefore, radicalism and terrorism are two visible names in this saga of instability, intertwined and related to this, and actually taking place are efforts whereby our region is weakened through ethnic and sectarian divide, and that's what we should all be working against, from China to Russia, to India, to Pakistan, to Afghanistan, to all other neighbors, all the way up to Turkey and other countries. So this is another very important theme for us. There is one element very important everybody should know between Iran and Afghanistan, especially in the past 12 years, that in spite of the difficulties that Iran had with the United States and the West and their presence in Afghanistan, Iran understood the Afghan situation and analyzed it correctly in the interest of Afghanistan and adopted its approach and policy towards Afghanistan accordingly, for which the Afghan people are thankful. A difficult situation for us was managing the presence of the United States in Afghanistan and the differences it had with Iran. Luckily for us, Iran understood our needs and our particular situation and acted accordingly. Well, that is a tribute to Iran that we must not forget. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, ladies.